Hey guys, Pete Lingus here, physical therapist from Precision of Movement, and we got Alan.
My name is Alan, and I've been a PT for about 4 years now.
Awesome.
2016. Yeah.
Cool.
And I've known Pete for a little while here.
Yeah, we play basketball together, and we've tried to improve our trade basketball-wise, but also just improve our craft physical therapy-wise. And so Alan's been learning more about this I guess system of treatment. It's called PRI. Would you mind telling us about that?
Yeah, so PRI stands for Postural Restoration Institute.
Okay.
I'm by no means an expert in this. I've been on my journey, I guess, venturing to other different ways of thinking outside of what we learned in school.
Yeah.
For about a year and a half now.
Nice.
So it's not been a long time. So
Yeah.
if I get anything wrong, feel free to correct me.
Yeah, that's okay. We're all still learning. We're on this journey together. If you guys pick things up here that you find contradictory, go and look it up and let us know. We're open people. We're just here to share some knowledge that we've learned. Yeah, I don't know too much about PRI except through Instagram and through Alan's posts, but I am trained in the Shirley Sarman movement biomechanical approach, movement systems approach. So today we're going to be just talking about top things that he's been learning, and I'm going to give him my input here and there. But yeah, Alan, what would you say is like the top 3 key things that have like changed your PT game from PRI so far?
So number 1 being that we're asymmetrical.
Okay.
Okay, so I think before I used to want symmetry in my patients,
Yeah.
or I would treat both sides the same without thinking about it. But
Right.
now I've definitely kind of gone the whole asymmetrical approach because we have left and right sides, left and right brains, and all of that.
Yeah.
And anatomically we have some differences too. So
Yeah.
that's one of their big differences. And everything I say is just my personal experience and journey.
Right.
So I'm just going off of that.
Yeah, I think I agree with that because I play basketball and I'm always jumping off my left foot, and so I do feel asymmetries from like a movement pattern standpoint. But I guess sometimes they dive deep sometimes into like the brain and how that already creates some kind of asymmetry potentially. So I guess that's a whole nother thing. But I guess the question is it our brain creating the asymmetry? Or is it our posture?
Right. We
during
just
the
had
day?
this talk in the office.
Exactly. We're talking about that, and Shirley Sarman definitely talks about how our daily habits, our motor programming affects our body. So we can jump into that another segment. But yeah, what's another thing you've kind of like a key thing other than asymmetries? What's number 2 that you've kind of picked out? Be like, hey, this is a big thing, big deal.
So neutrality is something that you want to achieve in order to begin treatment.
Yeah.
So because we're asymmetrical, we want to get to a point where we're somewhat symmetrical.
Yeah.
So that we can go to the reciprocal of that.
Yeah.
And then the final stage would be able to alternate and then master that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Similarly to the movement systems approach, they talk a lot about finding that diaphragm as the center for everything, positioning it properly, and teaching them how to even breathe, right? Breathing is such a parasympathetic, sympathetic system where you need to master that first. And then I like how, when we were talking, how you were saying, hey, you need to first achieve neutrality first, and then actually even beyond that, find like reciprocal habits, reciprocal patterns, which I think is pretty similar to most systems approaches, biomechanical approaches.
Right.
It's like your car. You don't want your one tire to be like spinning a little faster than the other one. We want both tires to be spinning pretty equally.
Sure.
But that requires you to take the big picture approach, right? You can't be like looking at the knee and then, the knee's going in, just fixing just the glute.
Exactly.
Because sometimes it might be up the chain too. Exactly. And that's kind of like, for me, that was a game changer thing for me from a movement systems approach now, where like, dang, the toe issue could be connected to like your neck, maybe.
It's insane how that connection is there, And I think lastly, the PRI, like the third big thing on PRI is they relate everything to gait.
Okay.
So our asymmetry, one of the common asymmetries is it's called the left AIC, left anterior chain.
Okay.
And all that is just a group of muscles that are more concentric or shortened, and so that puts us in kind of like this position. Okay? And not to say that we're like this outside exteriorly, but internally, they talk about internal posture a lot. Something that we can't just change by retracting our shoulders or doing a chin tuck. It's through exercises, breathing, and adjusting that through airflow.
Got it.
So we are in this left swing, right stance position or posture internally. But when we're moving through this, we're still internally in this. So they relate everything to gait. And so that's why we want alternating and reciprocal, because in gait, that's what we do.
That makes sense, because obviously we're moving people, we're humans, we walk like to anything, even though we drive a lot too. But I think just around the house, at work, at school, we're always walking, right? And similarly in the biomechanical approach, it's our body will adapt to what we're doing, right? How we're moving. If we're sitting and driving with our leg forward, eventually our brain will perceive that as our normal, and that's our preferred pattern. So a lot of the movement systems approach is about what is a person's preferred pattern and how should we correct it, if we need to correct it or not, right? So that's pretty cool. And one other thing is something that I've been reading up on is like the organs and like how inside, like you said, affects the outside sometimes. And like we were talking about chicken or the egg, which I don't know which ones affects what, but they definitely are correlated together. But okay, awesome, man. So is there like a case that maybe more recently where you're like, hey, before I would have done this, to treat this case, but now after PRI, again, like I'm no master at it, but I tried this and it like worked. Any like one case that you like jumps out to you?
One case?
Or maybe there's too many.
I mean, literally all my cases are different.
Oh, really?
I don't treat the same at all. So again, the first thing I do, you know how graduating PT school from Loma Linda, great program.
Of course.
We're more in the glutes, mid trap, that way of thinking.
Kind of yonder approach, right? That's like the base of how we learn.
Which I read on your recommendation. Which was very insightful.
For sure.
So I would have patients do a lot of core, a lot of glute work when they came in. So now my first like go-to is breathing. First and foremost. If you're coming in to see me, then you're breathing. And we're trying to fix that. Because we're trying to, again, handle that asymmetry, handle the concentric versus eccentric throughout your body, that kind of almost, I don't know if it's a war or battle or that imbalance that's going on. We want to address that. And so all, actually, my treatments are different for sure.
Okay, that's cool. Similarly, when I started learning about the movement systems approach, a lot of what they focus on too is, like we discussed earlier, there's a lot of similarities. A lot of it is positioning that diaphragm and teaching them how to breathe, rib cage, and like, you're learning how to diaphragmatically breathe and whatnot. And it's crazy how when you incorporate that into an everyday person or even a professional athlete, it like changes the way the body functions, right? And you see that. And I think a lot of it, just one quick point about like, okay, like we're fighting like an internal struggle. Well, number one, we're fighting against gravity. Gravity's not our friend, right?
So trying to make us fall.
So we got to resist that. And number two, our body just likes to, our body sometimes it's lazy, right? It just wants to be economical. It wants to conserve energy. So we have to kind of fight against that.
Back in our caveman days, right?
You do all about that.
And only expend it when we're hunting.
If we're all about that, then like, it's just trying to be like, okay, what can we do? What the least amount we can do with the least amount of energy, right? But I think as we're learning more about the movement systems approach, I think there's a lot of similarities, and just to kind of tie everything in together, a lot of it is coming down to how the brain is processing movement and how are we going to affect change and behavioral change in our movement patterns, right? And I think once we're able to do that, there's so many schools of thought out there. There's the movement systems approach, there's PRI, there's like many other ones on Instagram, or teachers out there that are teaching that. But I think the big thing that we want to tell people that are learning, like other physical therapists, is, again, there's so many tools out there. Just go try them out, pick one that really you feel connected to. I know for myself, the glutes and the core really changed my life. You know, I can play basketball now way better than I did 10 years ago. And you know, for you too, Al, I'm sure the PRI stuff maybe has like changed the way it's worked in your body too. So big picture is, you know, go learn, be open to learning. It's always a journey. Try to learn more about maybe PRI or movement systems approach, and see if it works for you. And ultimately, why are we doing this? It's to help our patients, right? It's to help encourage and promote healing, to discourage hopelessness, to really teach people to find good habits, good long-term changes in their body, right? So yeah, awesome guys. Thanks so much for listening. We're gonna try to do this a little bit more. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. Again, we don't know everything. We're here just learning in the same journey as you guys. But if you have any questions about the movement systems approach with Claire Frank and Shirley Sarman, or you have any questions about the PRI approach, you can talk to Alan or any other people involved with that. So thanks so much, and tune in next time.